we have a different animal with us. We have a 2013 Lancer GT with 2.4 liter 4-cylinder engine. We're doing motor mounts because after it got popped in the front end, it was making some noise and a lot of vibration at idle. You could see the whole hood vibrating. Took it to the Mitsubishi shop, and they said that the motor mounts were the issue. So we got 4 motor mounts. We've got one right here. We have one under all of this somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is, right in there. Oh, that one should be fun to get to. Yeah. And then get the whole aero cover off of there. And we've got this one right here, which by far looks like the easiest. And then we've got this one right here with that bracket. So what I'm thinking we may do is probably start with this bracket first. Then we'll move to this one. Looks like 19mm bolts. There's 2 bolts for the arm here, one on the back. So I think we'll need to see if this engine is going to flex any. We don't want to grind. I'll probably run a jack and a piece of wood right here. But I think we're going to loosen from the transmission first and try to get that bracket off or loose, and then loosen it from the motor mount. And then I think if we can get that finagled out of there, I think combined it'll be too hard to get through the slot. But if we take the aluminum bracket off and then completely, and then take off the this mount right here, I think that'll do the trick. So we're going to wipe off all of this oil here because it does need a valve cover gasket, which if everything goes well may get done as well today. But other than that, looks like it's working fine. Now these mounts are vibrating. There's a slice there, I suppose. That might be the main culprit right there. If you look right in there, well, it looks like a slice there. They don't really look bad, but we're going to go ahead and knock them out. Dealer would have been $150 an hour, $460 for Mitsubishi grade parts, and then 4 hours for the parts, so the grand total of $1,100. So $100 from Amazon for parts. We're going to see if we can knock this out. Alright, so we got this mount off. So just 17mm, 14mm. I went ahead and, I don't know for sure, but I went ahead and braced the transmission. And we loosened those bolts. Now remember, you're going into the aluminum of the case. It did feel like there was a torque, so I'm going to look that up when I put it back together, but do not over torque these bolts, obviously. So I'm not sure what they were, but there's a 14mm bolts around here as well. So once I get this loose, I'm going to use the 14 and just take that bracket off completely, and should be able to slide it right through here. Then we'll work on getting that bracket out. Should be able to slide it right out, and then the reverse to put it back together. So we'll let you guys watch that. But this one bolt here, a little bit tricky. I had to use a breaker bar through here to break it loose. But now to loosen it, it's a little bit, it's just the space is very, very tight. So using this little S-tool, not too much better. I can run this little ratchet instead. this mount through here? I think the answer is yes. Look at that. Snazzy. Oh, what a blessing. Cool. Yep, this is the one. This is the one that's probably. Okay. Yep. That was the issue. Thankfully, when you buy these parts from Amazon, you always do kind of wonder if you're going to have an issue with, parts being the same. But everything's looking good so far. Yep. Cool. Yeah, but see how much slops here? You can just see. Yep. That's the problem. Cool. We found it. Oops. Alright, so let's go under here and show you what we did and some tips and tricks. Alright, so obviously this one was broken, this mount right there. So that was super easy to get out. Very, very floppy as you just saw. A couple things to note. Going back in, I went ahead and left this loose, just snug. And then what I did was tighten this up first, place this here, but tightened these or snug these up first so there was no slop on the aluminum. I didn't want to damage the threads, I didn't want to damage the aluminum bracket. Next, what we did was got this placed. What happens was these arms here it's sprung steel, so it's kind of a light bracket. So what happens is this mount naturally goes backwards, so you can't line up your bolt holes here and here. So to help brace the area, I went ahead and put this one back in. Piece of cake, 14 millimeters right through here. Take them off with impact, whatever. 14, 17. I lined all that back up, and that did seem to help reduce some stress on the area here for this mount. So then I checked in behind, and the one bolt right back here slipped right into place. It was in perfect position. So then what I was able to do was use a screwdriver and pull this out, and then line up the fine threads on this bolt, then go over here, pull that out, and then line up those threads, and then tighten everything down. And it went in a piece of cake, no major stress, seemed to be awesome there. So really happy with how that went out. I'm assuming this is the worst. I'm not sure. The driver's side might be tricky, but I'm assuming this one was the worst, and we got it done. So it looks like for the next two, we will need to support the motor on either side. So we got a wood here, and this did seem to help with doing that one. Although there was some decent amount of flex where you could kind of move it in position to place. So I don't have the torque specs, but I tightened these down with a 3/8 instead of just slamming them real hard with a 1/2 inch, and then just got them evenly snug. Nice and tight, but not just cranked on because of the aluminum. Got these all down nice and tight, so don't go crazy, but get it snug. So, alright, let's go figure out what we need to do at the top. I might go ahead and do this one first. It's just hiding right in there. Alright, before the battery dies, remove coolant tank. 12 millimeter here. Brace engine. This might take you a little bit to get it quite right. 17 millimeters on both sides. Very, very hard. Used a breaker bar on the bolt side, this side, held it there and cranked it back. 14 millimeters around. I'm going to try and just slip the mount out from here, but if not, you may have to take off this aluminum bracket here to get it right. It looks like 2 nuts and then 2 bolts. Not totally sure if we'll need to do that, but that's your option. So pulling that out here at the moment, and we'll see what goes from here. This one looks kind of crusty, so the dealership, had told her to replace all 4 mounts. So we've only got one that's really, really bad. This one, yeah, I mean, they're all original, so it's going to work out good, but This set from Amazon was $100, so we'll see, how long it lasts. But so far, so far so good. Alrighty, people. So last mount for the Mitsubishi is in, and as you can see, this one was indeed damaged as well. But from 2013, we got 10 years, almost 10 years of wear on it. It go almost exactly 10 years. It's not too bad. And I've been really impressed with this generic parts from Amazon too. Original parts are usually the best, but I wanted to save a little bit of cash and found these 4 on Amazon for $100. Excuse me just a minute. There we go. And they had a 5-year warranty on them, and the quality has been superb so far. Alright, so new one's in. So to get this one in, I'm not really sure if this one's the hardest or not. I think it's the most time consuming. I'm going to say transmission in the back is still the hardest. What you might do is, depending on how you do it, you almost might go ahead and just do your top mounts first maybe, and then do the bottom, so you have all this open to do the rear. I don't know. It might be a good idea. But anyways, what you gotta do, pull out the battery. Well, pull out the airbox. Pull out the battery. You have to pull up this bracket right here, which goes around here. You have these bolts around your fuse block that have to be undone so you can get that out. You have to use some needle nose pliers on these connections right here that hook into this. Be careful with your computer, which goes right back here. You got a fancy bracket that kind of holds it here. And then what you have is your 14 millimeters there. Then you got 17 millimeters with this bracket right here that attach to the motor mount. Then there are 2 mounts on the side. And as you can see, it's very hard to get a hand in there or a socket. So, took me a few minutes, but I was happy to figure out the solution is to pull your left front tire off. You have a plastic access cover here, and then boom. You've got your two 14 millimeters up there, and you can break them loose with a wrench. Take them off with a ratcheting swivel head wrench, then tighten them back up. I would actually tighten these up first before putting the 2 top bolts back in, and then tighten your 2 top bolts afterwards so everything's lined up. So then I obviously support your transmission pan as well. So yeah, making progress. I'm going to do the valve cover gasket next. We'll do a separate video for that. But so far I've been impressed with complex, yes, common sense, and just taking your time. And obviously having motor mount experience, this is the first time I've ever done a front wheel drive motor mount. All 4. I've done the 2 motor mounts on the Suburban, and that's the extent of my experience. So this has been a great learning curve that I appreciate. So I'm going to put it back together now, and we'll get back with you. Alrighty, so motor mounts are all lined up. We've got most of that put back together. I left some of that open just so I could work on the valve cover gasket here. Went ahead and used some brake cleaner around the edges, and used some compressed air to blow that off. Used a screwdriver to pull this off of the evap, or the PCV. You got this little air hose here to pull off. Got 3 10 millimeters to pull that cover off. 10 millimeters. I don't know the firing order, but I went 1, 2, 3, 4 for the coils. So now we're going to work on pulling that off, and I just disconnected this right here to give me more room around. And we're going to pull this cover off and go from there. We've got, let's see, a little bracket here too for the wires. I don't think there's no plug there. So then there's 4 bolts in here as well. So I'm going to kind of work from the center and then work my way out for loosening. And then I have the diagram for going back over, and I got to double check my retorquing specs to put that back on. So let's get to it, shall we? Alright, so valve cover was very brittle. We got it off. Work on cleaning the surfaces now. And then we'll work on putting our new Fel-Pro back in there. Once again, using Super Clean for our surface cleaner. My favorite product, biodegradable. Smells good too. They just seem to make a real good product. We got our corners cleaned here where it mates up to the front cover, mates to the block. So we'll get that dry, then put some RTV on there, and we'll put our gasket in the valve cover. Put it back on here and start tightening our sequence. Alright, so we're torquing down, almost done. First round is 27-inch foot-pound, so 27 inch pounds. And second pass is 49 inch pounds. And I'll show you the diagram in just a second. Alright, so here's the diagram. I just screenshot this off of the video I was looking at. There you go. And there's your pattern. Definitely helped out. A little bit older model. This has 2 less bolts on it than the other ones, but it seemed like it worked good. Thankfully my ratchet was working, or my Harbor Freight Special torque wrench was working correctly. I've got one that's, I think, broke, so just taking the time on it and go from there. I don't know the firing order. It would have been smarter to label these in firing order. I just didn't want to mix up the coils in case, you know, we've already had them battery unplugged, but still, I didn't want to. I'm going to put everything back as much as I can so we don't have any weird issues. I do not have time for weird issues. So, I don't know how long a shop would have charged for this, but it was definitely needed. I think the original gasket, I'm going to say probably 2 hours is what the dealership probably would have charged. Maybe an hour and a half. Especially if somebody knew what they're doing. It's very well laid out. Plenty of room. Thankfully with these two, you really can't over tighten them per se. It gets to a nice spot and then it just stops. Yeah, right there. So, in case you're wondering, I don't know what the torque is, but it seems very happy. Just get there and I'm done. Very happy. So, just a key on that. All 10mm stuff. We'll put the wiring harness back in. There's a little slide here where that goes. Probably should check the spark plugs, but I can get that later. I didn't want to risk any weird stuff breaking, and it's running fine, so if anything pops up, we can check those later. Here is our harness. Nice and clean. One plug. Put your harness all the way in first, and then plug it in. Alright, got the slide here. Alright. 2 plug. 3 plug. 4 plug. Alright, here's a cover. 3 10mm. It's nice to see stuff go back together quicker. Very productive day so far. I've been happy with the way this has worked out. Obviously, I need to go drive it, and then we'll know for sure. There's this. There's a little wire here to slide back into the valve cover there. A clip over here. Alright, and there's this clamp put back on here. Put our hose back on. So, I've got a couple more little things we're going to tinker on. Hopefully give it a bath before we take it back home. And we'll see you guys eventually here. Thanks for watching Mitsubishi Lancer Files. Alright people, I forgot to make a video of driving the Lancer after doing the motor mounts and the valve cover gasket, but it ran great, idled great, no issues, no weird things popped up so far. It's only been 12 hours, so we'll have to wait and see. But it seemed like that worked out good. Very, very nice and quiet. You get to the stoplight and you're idling for more than 30 seconds, and the engine's not rattling. You don't have the hood. So thankfully that was a good fix. And it wasn't overall. I don't think it was that hard of a job. It's the only front-wheel drive motor mounts I've done so far. So I'm sure there's worse cars, but I don't think overall it was that bad. Just time. Use some common sense and just take your time and either do the two top first or do the two bottom first. Obviously don't take them all four out, that'd be just dumb. But the good parts, we'll keep you posted as to what goes on there.